I guess we'll make a little statement and then we be Q&A. So on Sunday morning, we met with Mr. Kema, his attorney. We had some police officers and myself. We went out to a scene in Pune, and they showed us where he disposed of the body. On today, which is Tuesday, we went to, it's Wednesday? Oh, sorry, flew that. Today was Wednesday. We took the family out to the scene, and we showed them, where Mr. Kema had disposed of Peter Boy. So answering the question, I think that a lot of people have asked is, where is Peter Boy? We kind of have a feeling of where he is. At this time, we're not going to be giving the location. And we're not going to be doing that because we have some work to do. It's a wide area, and we're going to be having different professionals come in. And I don't know, Randy, you want to talk about that? We're working with other professionals to go take a look and see if we can find any remains. It's a pretty wide area that we're going to be looking at.
How many acres?
Actually, at this point, we don't feel comfortable in giving the size. It is in Pune. The district of Pune is the size of the whole island of Oahu. So it's in an area in Pune. I'll say this: when we took the family out today, the grandfather, Mr. Ko, when he got out there, the whole family said a prayer, and one of the comments that he made was he said a prayer to his wife, Yolanda, who had passed away on her death, that he made a promise to her that he wouldn't stop looking. And so when he got out there, he said, we found him to her, and he's now in your hands. That was his comment, and it was it's kind of a touching moment there. So.
Was it the family's decision to go out there, or did you open that up for them?
We felt it was important that the family had that opportunity to go to the area. We made that an opportunity to them. They, of course, wanted to go out there, and we wanted them to have a private time out there, and so they can go out there and they can tell, if they had friends or stuff. We're hoping that we can do our search without people going out and walking over the site and being amateur hunters and possibly even disturbing the site.
When the family was out there, what did they say? Were they, in terms of when you told them this is where Peter Boy's remains may be, what was their reaction?
Well, like I said, the grandfather, he said a little prayer, and he shared with me that prayer was that we found him, and now he's in your hands, referring to his deceased wife. The family was very grateful. They're appreciative. Of course, there was tears to be shed, and they had some tears to be shed.
Were they surprised?
Well, I don't know if surprise is the right word. Prior to going out, we met with him this morning. We were told some things by Mr. Kema. We shared some of those things. We're not going to be sharing that at this time. Then we shared to them, where we were going, so they kind of had an idea of where we were going. And I think that initially when they initially heard, it was sad. When they got out there, I think there was a sense of closure. I don't know, Randy, if you want to, or Derek, you want to add anything, or
What you mean by outside help, and who are you reaching out to?
Well, when Peter Boy's father showed us the location and explained to us what his actions were when he disposed of Peter Boy's remains, we immediately recognized that to conduct the search properly, we were going to need to reach out to another agency with the proper expertise and equipment to conduct this search. As for which agency we're reaching out to, they haven't committed coming yet, so I prefer not to divulge which agency that is. They've expressed a desire to assist us in any way they can. It's just they're not able to commit at this point. But we do have backups also.
So when are we going to start the initial search?
As soon as we can work out logistics and we can get the people here.
And do you know how long that's going to take?
In the coming weeks.
Do you know how long the search would take? Do you have an estimate?
It's too preliminary to say that right now. Too many variables.
Can you say if he was buried or was he just laid there or?
So at this time, we're not, we're just going to use a general, that's where he disposed the body. And eventually, all these things will come out, and we'll be able to explain that a little bit later. But at this point, we just don't want people going in and, tromping through what's still kind of a crime scene. And, we're hoping that we can find, whatever we can, whatever remains we can to bring back to the family.
Is there anything else that you're worried about in terms of figuring out, during the time that you guys are figuring out the logistics, is there anything else that you may be worried about besides people maybe disrupting the area? Weather conditions or anything like that would disrupt the site?
Nothing that hasn't occurred over the past 20 years. Our biggest concern would be if people were to find out what the location is and, for whatever reason, attempt to alter it.
And that is the biggest challenge because this happened nearly 20 years ago?
Yes.
For 2 decades, can you tell me how the challenge of that timing is in something like this?
I'd imagine it's very challenging, but we need to consult with various different people, and I'm not an expert on the archaeology and of that, and I don't know the captain is, but I'm sure over 20 years a lot can happen to a body. We recently did a case where a body was buried for over 7 years, and there's a lot of changes in the body.
Can you say who was there, what family members?
So we had a brother and a sister, the grandfather and an auntie that was there. One of the interesting things, and let me tell you some of the things that were interesting that happened as we were driving out this morning. Came across a patch of rain, and we were in 2 different cars, and it was interesting that in both cars there was a little conversation about the rain. And our car, we talked about Tears from Heaven. In the other car, the auntie explained that they said that it was Peter Boyd crying that you're finally coming for me. And I thought that was a really touching moment. When we got to the location, the rain stopped and the clouds parted and there was sun, and it was kind of just a beautiful moment. It was sad, but it was very touching and kind of spiritual. A lot of things, in that way were happening. There was prayers that were said, candles that were lit. Like I said, Mr. Cole had a prayer to his deceased wife, telling her that, we found him and he's in your hands. I thought another thing that was really touching was Mr. Cole saying that, he felt that he lived up to his promise. And like I said earlier, he was very thankful to us. The whole family was just, wonderful. I can't say enough great things about this family and what they've gone through. It's amazing that all of the children turned out as, they're amazing people. And, you can't really say anything more about that.
I'm so glad that they do,
There's a possibility that we won't. And, as far as the legal side and the plea agreement, if we are not able to find any remains, Mr. Kema will have to take a polygraph to, tell us what happened, where he left the body. We feel confident or pretty sure that where he brought us to was the place where he disposed of his son. However, he also lied for 20 years. So, we're not 100%, but we feel that if we're not able to, and we do the polygraph, we'll be able to get some more closure. And we'll say that the area was consistent with other stories that we had heard.
If the remains are not found, does that change the agreement with the plea deal at all?
Only if he fails the polygraph. And I did have a conversation with the grandfather, and a big part of knowing where Peter Boy is, I think that was really important to them, and having that, it was that closure. So.
Are we closing off the site so that we don't get any foot traffic or any disruption?
It's on private property, so. Mr. Kema was very quiet.
He responded to questions that we would ask, both during an interview prior to going to the reconstruction as well as during the reconstruction. Wasn't very talkative, though. He never volunteered any information. He simply answered questions that were asked of him narrowly and to the point.
So what does that tell you?
I'm not going to draw any conclusions.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the vial thing?
Well, yeah, one of our victim witness counselors, Deborah Chai, she brought these little vials, and she gave them to the family, a little glass vial with a cork, and I didn't realize where they came from. I saw that the family was taking soil samples, and they had about 4 or 5 of these, and I commented, and they actually told me that it was our victim witness counselor that provided them to her, and I just thought it was really neat, and they thought it was pretty special to take a piece of at least where everything happened, the soil of the area, just to have a piece of Peter to take with him.